problem. Okay.
Okay, so,
Do you want me to share the, let me get the,
yeah, well, let's read the guidelines first,
right, now I had them.
which
Wait a
is
minute.
always, I wish I had a piece of paper. It's so,
No, I'm sorry, Joe, let me stop sharing that. I thought I had it. Let me bring it up. Sorry for the delay, folks. I had it nicely guideline. Can you see that?
no.
No, because I have to press share someplace. All right, this is always a pain in the butt. Okay, let me go back to,
All right, well, I could read from what I have on the phone until you, oh, do you have it now? Okay.
no, I don't.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and start reading. On September 2nd, 2021, Governor Kathy Hochul signed into law Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021, which authorizes community boards to run this meeting remotely, and minutes will be taken for record keeping. The minutes will appear on our website within days and can be requested from Bronx CB7. Oh, here's Yahira. Okay. Bronx CB7 and Bronx CB7 step at any time. If you are calling into the meeting on the conference, controls joining from landline or cell by calling dial-up number to hear the available commands. Enter ** on your phone, *6 to mute or unmute yourself, *9 virtual raise hand. And here's, we will run this meeting as follow the code of conduct for meetings, penalties and actions. Bronx Community Board 7 has the right to remove and or ask a member of the public to leave meeting or block participants of anyone who engages in inappropriate conduct, including but not limited to obscene or offensive images or language, personal attacks, threats, or any other behavior that reasonably impedes the orderly administration of the meeting. Repeated offenses will be reviewed by the board's executive committee or any other assigned committee for a ban, the amount of time to be objectively determined by the above committees of the participant in the event of repeated disruptive behavior. If in-person outbursts or attacks continue, this will be considered disturbing the peace and the authorities shall be called. Everyone besides the speaker presenting will stay muted throughout the meeting. After such presentation is over, I will inquire if committee members have questions. Committee members will signify that they have a question by pressing the raise hand button on your screen, Zoom, or request to speak through the chat room when the chair opens the floor. Members of the public who have joined through the online link will be able to ask questions and make a brief statement on the item after each presentation and after the committee has had an opportunity to ask clarifying questions by pressing the raise hand button on your screen, Zoom, or request to speak through the chat, or when the chair opens the floor. Only those recognized by the chair of the committee will be allowed to speak during the allotted time. We will stay on topic with the agenda items. Any other items will be acknowledged by the chair in new business or addressed at the next meeting, granted there is time and that the committee agrees on the topic. Following the questions, discussion, and public comments portion, the committee will begin the discussion after each presentation agenda item and will conclude with the decision to vote on a recommendation. When the agenda is finished, the meeting will be adjourned. If there are any questions related to the meeting software or our process, please use the chat function, raise hand function now, or contact the district manager. The end. With that, we will take attendance. Welcome, Yahira. So I will take attendance. Yahira, did you want to share your screen, or do you want to because right now I have Betty doing it.
It's up to you.
I made you host again, Myrna. You're
Okay.
host again.
Okay, all right. So when I'm host again, then I will turn it over. So Yahira, if you can find the bylaws so we can do like we did last time. All right, so I'm gonna take attendance.
Wait a minute, we have a problem.
What
Yeah.
happened?
AJ is the host, he shouldn't be the host.
How is AG the host?
I have no idea. So AJ, if you could please make Myrna the host. I don't know how it's happening here. This has happened before.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
It's not very funny because this is serious stuff. So
Yeah,
AJ,
that's weird. Okay. Can we,
I think before we need to make sure that you are the host, Myrna.
no, I'm not the host right now,
No, you're not.
right?
So AJ has to make you the host.
AJ, can you fix that?
I don't know how to do that. Can somebody
You
guide
go
me through that?
if you go to your on the, you see the participant list on the side. You know how you can if you go the screen below and click on participants. Or even on your name.
Did that do it?
Yes,
He
it
did it.
worked.
He did it.
Got it. Thank you.
It's done.
That is
Thank
so
you,
weird.
AJ. I don't
I
know how
have
that
no idea
happened.
how that
That's weird.
happened.
That's weird.
Huh.
Okay,
It's
Weird.
happened before.
really? That's weird.
Yep.
Okay, so Yahira, I'm making you host so you can share your screen. Okay. All right. Let's see if it worked now. Okay. All right. Okay, with that, let's take attendance. Myrna Calderon present, Betty Arce,
Betty Arce present.
Barbara Stronser,
Barbara Stronzer is present.
Angela Osa,
Andrew Leosa present.
Yahira Arias,
Jahira Arias present.
and we have present with us Hugo Gonzalez, board member, and we have members of the community, AJ. I don't know who else we have. I think that's it, right? I mentioned everybody? Okay. With that, at the last meeting, just give a brief summary. We began discussions of what to do. Our bylaws do address vacancies of officers, but we were concerned that we didn't want to have a year with more than a year of an officer serving that was not voted in by the full board. And so that has been, we're trying to address that. We are going to move forward from that conversation though. Did anybody want to comment on that before we move on? You have any updates for us, Yahira, on that?
Myrna, I think where we left off, I think we were considering presenting this to the full board, as a,
Yeah.
right, but we need to flesh it out, make sure that it makes sense, what we're talking about, and even perhaps the rationale behind it. I mean, I know
Well, we
that
can
have-
talk about that first if that helps before we move on, because we got to finish up we were down from my notes. We were up to, before we started going back and dealing with the I believe it's section 5, section 3.
Mhm.
We were already up to section 6. Just so that's what I have in my notes. So does anybody want to continue that discussion just to clarify why it even came up?
It came up as,
Yeah, Hira, you're muted. I don't know if you wanted to chime in, but go ahead,
I think
Betty.
it was Yahira who had
Right,
broached it first.
right. Correct.
Yahira? You
I
there?
don't know if she knows she's muted.
Sometimes I know she has problems with her audio, but I don't know if that's the case.
Okay.
So I'll just chime in. I think
Okay.
it was, the concern was that we didn't want to have a lapse of leadership, for lack of a better word, for any extended period of time. And so I think people like Jahira felt that we should, within a relatively short period of time, conduct special elections to fill the vacancy, the term of the vacant, of the outgoing, or whoever was absent from that position. We're specifically talking about the chair of the community board.
Exactly. I believe
Right.
that was, because it wasn't just that, because, we have people that take leave and for whatever reason, the other, the other chair, the first vice chair has to step in. Like right now, we have Barbara doing that. But it's unfair to put that on somebody for an extended period of time if they don't really want to do it for more than, like more than 2 months. But not only that, if it's going to be an extended period of time, or they're going to wind up vacating the position for whatever reason, that the board should be able to vote on the person who actually replaces.
Right.
Myrna, what is the current bylaws read on that? Because I think we've had a procedure in the past where it was
Yeah,
announced the next month, they took nominations, and then the vote came the month after that.
Well,
It seemed to
Right,
work.
if we go by the current bylaws, I was reading them again today, so I could, because it's gonna be like, I'm gonna turn into Andrew. I'm gonna know the bylaws backwards and forwards. But basically is what you said. That we would have to announce the vacancy,
Mhm.
then nominations, have to be put in place, and then we have the election.
So-
Now, that could be almost 3 months without.
1, 2, isn't it? One you'd announce, next month nominations, the following month the vote.
Right,
And
right,
especially for the position of the chair, I think
Right.
it's important to give people a little time to see whether or not, they would like to run for it or whatever. And,
Right.
also to
But
give membership the opportunity to maybe see who will be running and, if they have a platform or whatever. In the past, there was some electioneering here and there. But whatever, I think the 2 months seems to fit fairly well. Because I think what was suggested last month was the nominations and the vote be on the same night, which
Right.
Can you hear me?
doesn't give people much.
yes,
of
we
a
can
chance.
hear you finally, Hira, yeah.
Okay, fine, I'm back.
You're
Sorry
on
about that.
your hiring good.
Right. Yeah, because
Okay.
we're clarifying why we even are addressed that change in the bylaws. And I think it's, I know what Barbara's saying. I know what Betty's saying, but since you're the one that brought it to the floor, we want to see, what you have to say. And then,
Well, it was just that I'm concerned. I'm really concerned at the direction of where the board is going and how we're addressing certain things. And I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. Like I said last time, I kind of left in December and I got brought back. And if I'm gonna stick around for the longer period of my term and still be part of this board, I want to start really taking a look at what can make a difference. And one of the things that I looked at was the issue of if our chair, which was the specific officer that we were talking about, does not come back, and or what should we do? And from the notes that I have, Andrew put in a proposed motion. He gave me the language, would you say in the event of a vacancy and off,
Yeah, I kind of wrote it out because because remember it had to be I think we lost you again, Yahira.
Yeah, we did.
But I know I can send it to, because it's not an official motion, because remember, the bylaws allow a member to make a motion from the floor, and I think that's where we left it at.
yeah,
We
I
didn't
just
have,
think,
we didn't have the majority. Okay, there you are, Yahira. Okay. finish
I
up.
just want, I guess maybe what I'm really looking for is for us to start really look at what the next steps are going to be for, and making this a lot, I guess, making this process a lot more inclusive and make it more, maybe more transparent, if we want to use that word. But I just think that we need to adjust certain things. And this is one of the things I think we should really take a look at to adjust. And I feel strongly about it. I mean, I've been sitting on this board for a very long time, and I know who feels strong about certain things in their committee. I said, this is going to be the time that I'm going to speak up. And this is something that I feel that should be really take a look at for the sake of the future of the board.
Right.
Do you think maybe, Ira, that if an elected officer takes a leave of absence, be it 4 months, 6 months, either for family illness, personal illness, or to run for an election, that maybe that person still on the board, but maybe that person should resign from that office?
Or
What's your
step
feeling
down?
about that?
How about if they step down from the chairman?
I think that if
Fair.
that's going to be the case, that they should step down from the position of being that officer.
That may solve the whole problem. If,
You know what? That would solve the problem, but we still have a vacant position unless
Right.
the
And then you
second
have
vice
Lindsay
chair is
West.
going to step up. But at least if they step down,
you can do something within 2 months.
Exactly. Then that
now we're not
opens,
rushed.
then that will open the floor for that. But I really think that the person, if that's going to be the issue, then the person, for the sake of moving the board forward and making it function, that
Right.
maybe that would be the common ground from all of us, that the person steps down and gives someone else the opportunity to win that position.
Right, because you can't do everything if you're not there. So, I seem to agree with that. I think, keeping it at that 1 month nominations, the next month voting gives you a little time to see who the candidates are, or to decide if you yourself wants to run. But in the meantime, it's not going to go on more than 2 months.
Okay,
In other
so
words,
I'm
we have
looking,
that in the bylaws, and they're taking the lead, they would have to resign the position at that point, or step down, whatever way you want to word it.
I think Andrew has his hand up.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Andrew.
So if there's an election held, that means the people have made a choice,
Mhm.
and that person who's elected has a term in office. If that person, for whatever reason, has to take a leave of absence, they have the right to return to the board according to our bylaws
Right.
as that officer position. By not allowing that, you've disenfranchised the voters' right to choose a person to fulfill that officer position. So it's I don't even think that's possibly even legal. You know what I'm saying? You can't say, well, because of your personal circumstances, you had to take a leave of absence. Therefore, the people who voted for you have to now have you replaced with somebody else. It's not like they permanently vacated. That's a different situation. But they took a leave of absence. So I don't think because somebody's on a leave of absence, they have to resign the officer position. I don't think that's even legal.
Yeah, you have a point. You have a point.
But what do you suggest to handle the problem of, say, someone's out for 4 or 5 months or whatever, and things aren't moving the way the board should move?
Yeah, what is
So-
the solution?
I
So
mean, I myself are temporary. I wasn't elected to the office of chair, so step back from making any changes. I feel that that's not my right. I'm just making sure that the meetings go on as scheduled and that someone's there to facilitate.
But that's not the case, Barbara. You are the chair, whether you're interim.
True, but if I
temporary,
wasn't voted for that position, like Andrew was saying, it's not my right to make all these changes. That's my feeling.
No, I want to disagree. I want to
But you're-
disagree because
You were voted in as the vice chairperson or whatever,
Right.
knowing that the bylaws say that if something were to happen to whoever is ahead of you, you take over that position.
Right.
With
So
all the
the
rights.
voter is informed of what the rules are ahead of time, or they should be, and if there's a vacancy, you move up. So it's okay.
To
You take
handle
on the
day-to-day
you take on-
things.
no, you take on the responsibility of that officer because you're taking over their place.
And it's in the bylaws. It's in
Yeah,
the
and it's in the
bylaws.
bylaws
Yeah,
that you take over their role completely.
yeah,
Or whatever it's worth for the couple of months.
right. So for that
Yeah.
period of time, yes, absolutely. But still, you can and have the right to make decisions
Decisions.
True,
as
true.
chair of the board. So I have a question. I don't know, Andrew, did you finish? I agree with Andrew upon that issue about.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
I think that that's a good point. So the bylaws that we're looking at, are these the ones that were revised in 2019 or those, am I looking at the same thing that everybody else is looking at? That were
Yes,
revised in
those were the
2019?
ones. Those were the ones that it was started to work on.
So are those the ones, but we didn't vote, we didn't approve those revisions, correct? Did we ever do that?
No, we completed it. I was on the committee last time and we completed it all. And it was supposed to be brought to the board. And what was the gentleman's name that was in charge of the committee? Oh, he's
Alex Carmen.
No,
No.
not Alex. He was on the committee.
How can I forget it? I know.
Yes, he was from your area, Meredith.
Yeah, he was on my committee.
Yes. And he did a fine job with it and
No,
it
I
was all
thought-
ready
no.
to go. And it never got to the full board. So I don't know what happened in between.
Okay, so be
That
that.
wasn't Untwain. No, this is before Untwain. Sorry. Thank you.
No,
No,
before
not-
Twain, it was, I can't think of his name right now. I
This
don't
with
know
a
why.
C, doesn't it?
With an O, I think it was an O, but anyway, I'm looking at that particular revision and in it, I'm looking at section 3, just making reference to the, how do we write language about vacancies or whatever in elections, and it says, upon the death, resignation, or removal of any officer, the vacancy created shall be filled by the board. The election to fill
Yes.
such a vacancy shall take place no later than the second meeting following the creation of the vacancy. Now, that would put it at close to, right, section 3 of
Yeah.
officers, yeah.
Thank you, Hugo. It was cold.
was cold.
I said it
Cold
began with a
walking.
C. Yeah, I was right.
Yes.
Yeah, upon the, yeah, this is what we were, this is this revision. So this is what we're trying to address right now, correct?
Right. The disagreement that happened at the last meeting wasn't that we all agreed that if it's a permanent vacancy, we need to have a vote. The question was, do we follow the old bylaws or do we amend them to say, hey, instead of having this long drawn out process, which means, let's just say now, let's say our chair vacates his position right now.
Right.
But I mean, we all agree that Barbara's doing a great job. It's no reflection on Barbara again, okay? So, but she was only counting on doing this for 2 or 3 months. Now she's got to cover through the summer because even though we don't meet during the summer, we all know we have things that come up during the summer where the chair of the committee has to show up or whatever, right? So now this is going into fall. So that means the first time that we could take, first of all, I don't know, because we wouldn't know about the vacated position until the end of June, right?
Exactly.
So you're
Yeah.
talking about September, we would announce the vacated position. So
Right.
now you're taking nominations and then you're gonna have the election at the next, that's, really, if we go by the bylaws, they're really supposed to have the election committee again and the whole thing, if I read them correctly.
No, not for one position, just
Right.
for the elections we have every 2 years. We
Right.
replace offices.
Okay, so what the change that was suggested is that we allow nominations to come from the floor instead of having that extra step.
The day that the resignation is announced,
No, it could be the next month. We could,
So
I
we're
mean-
talking several months now. I mean, I don't,
so
instead of having that extra month, because you're gonna have, that means,
Can I jump in for a second? So
Okay.
like we did and I've had a change of whatever. So if we revoted right now, I would agree to change my position. I would agree to having, it sounds crazy, but once a vacancy is announced, and, the question is, what does that mean? That means somebody can call the district manager or email the office staff or whatever and say, you know what, I have to take a leave of absence. And by the way, the general board meeting is the next night, the next day. I would be
that would be
for
unprofessional.
having an election at the very next general board meeting, which could be the next day after a vacancy is announced, or it could be 30 days, the day after a board meeting, somebody could decide to vacate a position. And they'll take nominations from the floor, and the election will be held that night. So it doesn't give much time, but if there's an urgency, I would go for that. But see, that's why wording is really important. Somebody could announce that they are resigning or vacating the position the day before a general board meeting. And if our bylaws say at the next general board meeting there is an election, which is a vote and nominations from the floor, that's literally within 24 hours.
that's
So
not good.
I don't
No.
know. I mean,
No, it's
something-
not, Andrew, because a lot can go on behind the scenes and it doesn't give everybody a chance to consider the position, if it's worded that way. I mean, I can see it being announced and then, what really would only be 2 months, take nominations the next month, and then nobody can say they didn't have an opportunity to, be part of it and run. But
and we could say 30 days after the announcement at the next board meeting.
I
Mhm.
think that's what should be done. I think it should be 30, just to be fair, 30 days is more than enough.
yeah,
At the next
Right.
board meeting.
Yeah,
so, but say the 30 days, not if somebody
Right.
does it the night
because,
before.
because that is a scenario that could possibly happen. Like
Right,
the day I say I'm resigning, tomorrow's the board meeting. Now, that's not enough time. I agree with
Exactly.
that. But if you say 30 days, that's more than enough time. So do we want to make that change instead?
so, just to clarify, Myrna, would that mean that the nominations and the election would be in 30 days, then both of them?
Yes?
Okay,
Yes.
that gives people time.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
Could
Is
be.
that doable? Is that
What if
doable?
somebody resigns from the board the day after a general monthly board meeting, the day after the meeting, and then the next general board meeting is less than 30 days after? So
Are we
that
talking
means
about an
you're gonna have
officer?
2 months.
An
So it's got to
officer,
be
yes.
worded at the
We're talking
next.
about an officer, right? One of
Right,
the officers?
an elected officer.
How,
We have to word this correctly. That's what it has to happen.
Yes, we have to be
You
very
have to
careful.
take into all those scenarios.
the only vacancy that I would accept as legitimate that takes place before or after a board meeting is death. sorry, or something very egregious, but somebody who just the day after or the day before a board meeting, an officer announces that they're resigning or whatever, to me, it's like, that person should never come back. That to me is very unprofessional, so let's just be very careful. I mean, it has to be something like a real emergency, that someone has to take a leave.
There's issues of privacy. We can't get into, like, we have to evaluate what the reason.
No, isn't that,
just-
but
that's
doesn't
it.
the person have to share that information with at least with the borough president's office, their intentions to resign or to leave
Yes.
or to take a
Yes, you
leave?
do. Yes, you do.
Well,
Because
I
I
mean, I
did
don't need to know the reason,
Aware of
but
that,
the
and I would be,
timing. Huh?
there's privacy issues, whether it's, medical or somebody's getting married, getting divorced, having a baby. It's personal information. I do not believe that that's a requirement to the borough president. It's certainly not a requirement to the board. Absolutely not.
Right.
No, it's not a direct requirement, but I did it. I put, as a professional person that I am, when I
Thank
wrote
you.
my letter to
Yeah.
Tom Lucania, I didn't say, hey, I'm just quitting because I'm quitting. I said, I am resigning because I have XY reason. I feel like if you're professional enough, you're going to at least say it in a way, you're going to give an explanation, not that they should know exactly what it is in detail, but at least a description as to why the reason for it.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
We need some clarification on that.
It.
I think we need some clarification on, I don't think that we're public servants, and yes, and we have our private lives, but we are also beholden to the public. And I think we owe it to the public and to our colleagues to at least, have a legitimate reason for resigning or taking a leave or whatever. I mean, I think it's.
And I think some of us have been in that position where we've been in the position of being a public servant, and we've had to resign. I remember when I had to do it on the community board, school board, and at the last year, I had to make a decision. I had to go full time in what I was doing, and I just could not do more. And I gave a reason. I wrote a written letter and I said why, but not all reasons can be given, because some of them are really personal. It's not job related. It's, sometimes it's, but I think that's really irrelevant. If you're resigning and you're vacating the position, that's what we're dealing with right now. If you're vacating the position, what do we do as the board, Community Board 7? That is the issue at hand. And how do we word it that it covers all bases? Or do we not want to touch this? Because it seems like there's a lot of confusion right now.
Right.
We have Hugo has
Hugo had his hand up.
Yeah,
So-
Hugo has-
Oh, who had his hand up?
Hugo.
Hugo.
Oh, sure, Hugo. I mean, yes, you can kind of chime in. I'm sorry, I don't see you.
No, I took down, so you guys are discussing a vacancy from one of the executive positions, like committee chairperson, or vacancy as, I have to leave the board, sorry. type of
The
vacancy.
officers, like the
Officers.
first, second,
Elected
vice
officers.
president, the chair. that kind of-
Officer,
An
so
elected position, elected position.
Right.
you would
Right.
still remain, so you still want to remain on the board, but you just don't want to be chairperson or. officer.
No, I don't know.
Not the chair,
that's
not
another
the chair.
Correct, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I don't see anything in the bylaws that says I can not resign from an elected position of the board, but
Mhm.
still remain on the board. I don't
Right,
think
right.
I don't think there's anything there on that.
there could be personal reasons, like it's just too much or it's too much work. I can't handle that work right now, and
Correct.
I'd rather, I'd rather step down rather than not doing the job that I was elected to do.
That would
That's
be, That would be one scenario, yeah, that
Right,
would be. the
I'm sure
kind of-
that can happen. So I don't,
Yeah,
it does not necessarily mean that you're off the board. You're just, we're gonna
You don't,
we're
you're no
gonna
longer
take
an
a
officer.
vote to put somebody else in that position, which I think the board should do that, because you know what? If there may, like, there has been times I remember sitting on this board where there were people who were running and they were equally qualified. So you know what? This person can't do it. Hey, we had this other person that we
Right.
all like too. We should be able to vote for them. Is that you, Andrew?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Andrew.
we could, upon vacancy, an election will be held, nominations will be taken from the floor. Something like 2 weeks, 2 weeks lead time before the next general board meeting. So if the vacancy is announced 2 weeks before the general board meeting, then we can have the election. If it's announced 1 week and 6 days before the general board meeting, we can't do it that board meeting. We have to wait to the next board meeting, which is a month and a week. And, I think that's a good compromise.
Andrew, what do you mean by announced? You mean an email gets sent to the entire board, or it would be announced at a
Now,
meeting?
the announcement, if somebody resigns a position,
Mhm.
they would have to contact the staff, by
Right.
email or phone and say, listen, I am resigning my position, elected officer position from the board. So that's sufficient as an announcement. That's the day that they made that announcement. And then the board staff would decide with the leadership, the chairperson, whatever, hey, so-and-so just resigned. We have 2 weeks before the next board meeting, we can have an election that general board meeting. Or if it's less than 2 weeks before that board meeting, we have to wait to the board meeting after. So that's an additional 30 days plus almost 2 weeks,
Yeah,
actually.
it should be at least 2 weeks. I agree with you on
Yes, we
that.
could, kind of a compromise that to give people some time to, run or nominate, talk to people to nominate.
Right.
But also the urgency to fill the vacancy will accomplish, that's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah,
No,
it
I
sounds
agree.
like-
I agree.
I think that's a good compromise.
yes, 2 weeks is good.
What is everybody else? Somebody else
Yeah.
has a hand up.
That's me.
Okay. Okay.
Is the concern, and going back to your high-risk concern, is the concern that that we're gonna be leaderless? I mean, we're all adults and a lot of us have been on this board for a while. We know how this runs. We have a good staff that will help us, weather the storm, so to speak. So is the concern that we won't have a chair or whatever? And I'm assuming most of this has to do with the chair, because if it's first vice president, second vice president, I don't think there's the same urgency or anxiety about that position not being filled right away. So I'm getting the impression that this has to really to do with the chair of the board, not the other elected officers, although they are as important. But I'm just, I don't want to be clear that we seem to be having this issue that if we don't have a chair at all times, and we always do, even if it's temporary, that let's take our time to make sure that, we fill that position, with due diligence, and we don't rush everybody. That's
Right.
my only concern. I don't want that to happen. I don't think we need to take 5 months, 6 months, but, let's make sure, remember, we have to put together a committee, and this work, right?
No.
Oh,
It's gonna be elected, it's gonna be from the floor.
Yes.
yes.
So it'll be just a
Okay,
vote
I
taken
think-
at the floor, okay.
Yeah.
But I
Alright.
think that the one thing we're all missing here is because we keep going in circles. The one thing that I wanted for this to be was in case of that type of emergency, what do we do versus waiting 2 months? This is why this was brought up. I don't think we should wait that long of a period. I agree with Andrew, once we're notified, 2 weeks is more than enough time for everyone to get their, get the email, realize what's gonna happen next, and be ready at the next meeting to have some sort of vote.
Right, to put in their nomination, recommend somebody and vote.
I think that should be more than enough time. We've done it before. We've done Google Forms where everybody does what they have to do. We do it right then and there and we move on.
Exactly. And the other thing is that it's not just that, we know that the first vice chair is perfectly capable of chairing a meeting. But, sometimes somebody will put somebody in another position, never thinking that they're going to be chair. So, and I think we have to think about that also.
Well,
that's
which goes down to section number 7, which says the first vice chairperson shall preside over the executive committee and generate the agenda in consultation with the chairperson. In the absence of the chairperson, the vice chairperson shall have all the powers and perform all of the duties of the chairperson as defined in Article 5, Section 6.
Right.
Right.
Which gives the vice chair all full powers, taking in the position of the chair, like Barbara's doing right now.
Right.
Okay, I have a question regarding the 2-week period. No, I think we should state that the notice should go out either via email or announced at a general meeting to make sure that that 2-week period is followed. Because, sometimes the office staff can't get on top of it and get it out and whatever. So my feeling is it should be from the date that the email went out to the entire board, if it's not an announcement.
Well, here's the thing, and this is something I learned back in December, that just because you emailed the Bronx Borough President's office, you emailed the staff, doesn't necessarily mean that it's 100% until the BP's office confirms and accepts that there's a process that they have to do to the community board to make it official. So I think it has to be from the moment the office of the Bronx Borough President's office makes it official, that's when it starts.
Okay, so then that wording has to be in. So there's no problem.
This is for a person who is a board member. They will continue being a board member. They just resigned the elected position. They're not resigning.
No, Andrew, I'm talking about whether you're in an elected position or you're just a member. That's the process with the Bronx Borough President's office. Because that's what happened with me.
Notice of
when I resigned. When I resigned in December, I sent the email out. I sent it to
from the
chair,
board, not the elected position.
No,
You're resigning from the board.
It doesn't, it's the full board. It doesn't matter if you're an officer or just a member. When you resign, when you say you're leaving the board for whatever reason, you send your email, your letter to the Bronx Borough, to Tom Lucania, you send it to the board, to the staff, and you send it to the chair. That's the rule. But the Bronx Borough President's office has to officially accept that resignation or that vacancy or whatever you want to call it. They have to do it formally, and then it's from that point forward that it's official.
But that's resigning from the board. They're just resigning from the elected position. They are not resigning from the board.
Correct. That's
Vacancy
different.
is for an elected. There's a vacancy in an elected officer, not the board. It's a different.
Right. So it shouldn't have to go to the borough president's office then.
So we have to then make that distinction somehow that a vacancy from the board is different from stepping down from the position.
Right.
And so stepping down from the position might make it easier but we might be able to accelerate the election because we don't need the VP's office to be involved, as opposed to a vacancy from the board, of someone who has resigned from the board.
Completely, right.
Completely.
Okay, so maybe upon the vacancy of an officer.
Right, that's what we want to say. And really, do we want to make it more specific as the chair? But, because the chair and the first vice chair are very important positions. They're both equally important.
I
So-
know, but the secretary is extremely important for our records. I think it should be left to elected officers.
Offices, okay.
Yeah, what the others feel.
So it could be
So-
upon the
so can we
vacancy of
say-
any elected
Right.
officer.
Yes. I-
Okay. That
So
sounds
we have to
fine.
say, I'm sorry, can we then make it very clear that we're talking of, that there are two different types of things here. One is a vacancy, someone who is stepping down or from the board versus someone who's resigning from the board versus someone who is stepping down from the position.
From an elected position,
I
yes.
think it should be, like we said, upon the vacancy of any elected officer.
Right, but Yahaira, that could be, I could
Officers
be,
are elected. It's kind of redundant. All
right, officer
officers-
is officer,
elect-
nobody else, right.
all
right.
officers are appointed. They're all elected.
Right. So my point is that the vacancy of any officer created by that person resigning from the board is different from me stepping down from an elected position and still remaining on the board. Is two different things.
Right.
So we
And I
need-
like, go ahead, Betty, finish. And I'm
And
just-
we have to make that distinction somehow when we are talking about
If-
how we proceed with filling that
If
vacancy.
if a person resigns from the board, how could I put it? I mean, obviously, if they resign from the board,
Or
they
they
have
die.
also stepped down, resigned from an officer position. I mean,
Right.
it's
Right, no,
no
no.
reason.
yeah.
A vacancy, our bylaws are the board's bylaws. The borough president's office is, if they sent a letter to the borough president's office, then the borough president's office would notify the board, and if they happen to be an elected officer, there's your vacancy. But they may not be an elected officer.
Right, but we're trying to address the issue, how do you fill a vacancy with an election, how do we proceed with this election process versus, just someone just resigning by voluntarily resigning or by death or whatever reason, if there's a vacancy. That's different than someone stepping down because they no longer wish to be that officer, or they have, or the things have happened in their lives that it makes it difficult for them to fulfill the
Not
position.
understand the difference. If somebody resigns from the board, they are no longer a board member. By definition, they have now vacated an elected officer position.
Right.
We are addressing
Guys,
an elected officer
If you
position.
look,
If
if you
if
look
they're
at the
on,
screen-
if they're still on the board, they're still on the board. That has
Right.
nothing to do with what
I'm
we're.
just,
okay,
I'm just,
if you
I'm just
look at
trying to figure out
article,
how do we proceed with the election for that position?
okay,
and
so
to
to make it, if we want to put clarity on this, I don't know if you guys can see my screen, but I moved it up to Article 3, where it says the member, Section 3. You see that last paragraph?
Section 3, an appointed member may resign any time by submitting a resignation. Yeah, okay.
So maybe the clarification should be put here, that not just, if not not appointed member.
So
an
a section,
appointed
and
member
section
resign.
4, an elected officer, is that what you're saying?
Well, what I'm trying to say is maybe we can put something in here.
In section 3, correct?
Yes, correct. So we have the distinction between a board member and elected officer.
Officer.
That sounds good. Let's
Yeah.
do
Board
that.
member, and I'm totally not getting this. I totally don't get this. If you are a board member, you could be a general board member, or you could be an elected. We don't have to define the difference. We're defining an officer. If you leave an officer, we want an election. If you resign from the board, you're no longer on the board. I mean, I'm not sure what we're addressing here. Somebody could clarify. I'm not getting it. I don't get
I
it.
think it has to do with how do we then, the process whereby when Barbara was discussing do we notify our members of a vacancy the minute the vacancy occurs, or do we have to go through a process through the borough president's office for some of the?
No, we
That's what
don't.
I'm-
I think we're talking about,
wait,
I think this
let's-
is where the confusion is.
A
I think-
vacancy,
Go ahead.
for a
Ed.
matter of discussion, okay, a vacancy we're gonna use the word vacancy when an appointed board member who's still remaining as a board member resigns an elected position, okay? That's different than a resignation. A resignation's a resignation.
Right.
They resign from the board, done. They contact the borough president's office, they're off the board. Of course, if they happen to also be an elected officer, then that creates that emptiness that we have to fill with an election. And I think we kind of decided that we'll have the next election, if the announcement's made within 2 weeks of the next board meeting, we'll have that election that next board meeting, the nomination election that next board meeting. If it's less than 2 weeks, which is 13 days, then we have to wait till the next monthly meeting, which is 30 days plus 13 days, that's 43 days. That's sort of like a compromise. But that
Right.
addresses the vacancy of, they still remain as a board member, they just vacated an elected position.
Oh, okay, so Andrew, since you were so good at coming up with the wording, maybe you and Yahira want to work on that wording. So that, and we can all vote on that tonight.
Okay, but
Okay, I would just add, how to say it?
Where are we at? Section 3? Is that what we're looking
Yeah.
at?
we were on
I
section,
know,
Article 5?
yeah, AJ has his hand up. I'll give you a brief minute to say something, AJ, because
I just want to know how long these terms are and if they could be shortened. Wouldn't that address these issues? Maybe like a 24-month commitment's too much and 12-month would be a shorter, more reasonable time.
I think we're required to do a 2-year. I think.
Is it the city charter that requires that, I believe?
I
I'm
believe
not
it
sure.
does, yeah. It's not something we can arbitrarily change,
Okay, all
I
right.
believe, but we'll look. we'll
Other
look into that.
other boards do 1 year. They vote every
Okay,
year.
well, you know what? We'll check into that.
That might be a little, we'll see what happens,
I don't think it really gives the chairperson enough time to reach any goals or objectives he or she may have.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think the term is an issue, the term of the office, because you could always step down if you feel at a certain point you're not fulfilling your obligations, or you feel you can't do it, you can just step down.
right.
Um,
Okay, so. All right, Hugo, you had a question before we go into the wording?
Question, it was an answer to AJ's. I believe it's, half of the board is elected every year, so, in a 2-year period, everybody is, re-elected or elected and gone, but every year, about 50% of the board is elected. And I think that's a citywide rule, but
Okay.
again, like everybody says, we have to double check that.
Okay, all right. Okay, so go ahead. Thank you, Hugo. So go ahead, Andrew and Yahira, let's come up with this wording. Let's fix this now. Where are we in the?
Okay, do we want to put upon the vacancy of any officer, the vacancy? By an officer,
Elections.
Looking here.
members to be notified of the vacancy within 2 weeks of the vac.
Within
Okay.
2 weeks of the vacancy?
Upon the vacancy of any officer, the vacancy shall be filled by the board. Okay,
That's okay.
In 2 weeks of the next board meeting.
You have to state something about notifying the membership.
That's where I was going. That's
Once
where I was
the
going.
membership has been notified, and maybe put in parentheses via a meeting or an email, then, proceed. The election will take place. Then I guess you should say the nominations and the election will take place 2 weeks after the official notification.
How about, okay, upon the vacancy of any officer and after an announcement to the full board,
Either in parentheses via email.
Now, right, you
Board.
have to be specific with that
Okay.
because
board-
communication doesn't always all happen, when you expect it to.
Then nominations and election will take place on the floor.
At the
Right,
next
that's
full board, nominations and an election will take place then at least 2 weeks from the notification at the next full board meeting.
Yeah, that's it. Can everybody live with that?
Write it up and we'll see.
It
Yes.
sounds good to me.
All right. I'm gonna step away for a moment. I'll be right back.
Okay,
Okay, Myrna, I don't have editing capabilities.
You know what? I don't know what happened with this. Why all of a sudden it stopped letting us edit?
Because I think it was on Twain's.
Twain, yeah.
on Twain's,
Yeah, but
account.
the other day I was able to do it. I had no trouble editing, and now all of a sudden it wasn't letting me edit too. I thought it was just my computer. Ah, let me go into my Google account and see if I can change the setting or something. Because I don't know why it was doing that to me today, because I was trying to make some, like clarify some things that we had. Let me see. Let me see if I do it this way.
I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute.
Editor, yeah, okay.
I'm back.
Okay, I'm sending you the new one. Let's see if it lets you do it now. I think I may have done it right. See if you open it now and it lets you,
No, it still doesn't let me edit.
I don't know why it's doing that. Let me try. It shows you. I actually transferred it to you. It says you're the owner of the document now. Why won't it let you edit? Look now and see. They'll let you do it now.
And you go to where there's, I says comments or something, and there's that little bubble with the comments. Is that the one? Where am I can't see it. Oh, I can't see it anyway.
There's always a glitch.
Okay, I got it.
You got it?
Got it. Give me a sec. Let me share. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, we're ready. So we agreed that upon the vacancy, whoops.
Oh, yay. Okay.
So we said upon the vacancy of any officer, right?
Correct.
Andrew, you want to say it again?
I'm gonna try copying and pasting it to the chat. Hold on.
We're waiting for Andrew. I have a question. I was looking at the agenda that was sent out by Carla, and I saw that we added Victor Saldana as a member. Is that true, Verna? Is
No,
that-
originally he was a member. I don't know, but he wasn't present at the
Oh,
meeting. That's a mistake.
got it. Okay, fine. Okay.
Yeah.
We were concerned that we didn't have an odd number to be able to break ties or whatever. Remember, we had that issue last time because we don't have on 20. Okay, fine. I'm kind of delayed in looking at my emails because I'm having problems with my Gmail account. So I was
Right.
just looking at that. All right, fine, no problem.
I'm not thrilled with this, but check it. I posted in the chat.
Okay, I'm
On
on.
the announcement to the
I-
board members and the public of a vacancy of any officer position, a special election will take place at the next general board meeting as long as the announcement is made within 2 weeks of the next scheduled monthly board meeting. Nominations will be taken from the floor and a voting election will take place at that same meeting. Something like that.
Andrew, you put it in the chat? Because I don't see it.
I forgot to press send, sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I don't see it either.
Yeah, I don't see it either. Oh, there it is now.
No?
Yes, upon the announcement to the board. Yep, it's there. Do you see it, Yahira? I think we lost
Can
Yahira.
everybody see?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Elected position.
You want me to read it again? Because we put it in the chat room.
All right, I think we were going to add upon the announcement to the board, either in parentheses or just commas via a meeting or email.
Or right.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So we have a way we can do that so that, everybody's on the same page. If it's an email, they will all get it at the same time.
Right, upon announcement to the board members,
We can drop,
public by email or,
Do we want to say by personal,
at an official meeting or via email.
right,
But I guess we should say an official general meeting. Because if they make an announcement at a committee meeting, that wouldn't count.
right. Upon announcement to the board at an official meeting of the board or email. That's,
Or through an email, a vacancy of any or elected officer position.
I'm not sure we have to be that.
yeah,
Well,
often-
somebody may think a committee chair or whatever. That's why I'm saying elected.
'Cause
Less confusion, the better.
we have to follow certain procedures and, just like minutes are supposed to be posted, well, we don't say that the minutes have to be emailed or I don't think we have to be just, I don't know. I just don't.
Yeah,
think-
notice is given, that's sufficient. Yeah. Upon the official announcement, that's what we need to say. Upon the official announcement to the board members and the public.
Okay,
However that's done, whether it be in person, by email, it's an official announcement.
right.
So if we say official announcement, that takes care of that, I believe.
so that takes this out.
Right, just as upon the official announcement to the board members and the public of a vacancy of any officer position, a special election, that's perfect. And I think we can vote on that. And I guess we can put the motion in for the board meeting.
No, I don't think we can do that legally because it's an amendment to the bylaws and there's a procedure for that unless we're reviewing the entire bylaws. And to pull something out, I think you have to have, so many signatures to present it, and then it has to be a 2/3 vote according to our bylaws. So
Okay,
why
but-
not just leave it in the body and, it's not going to affect what's happening this month or even, the person involved could decide in August to give a notice or something. Our last meeting is earlier than usual. So it's certainly not going to affect, this summer because the individual who would want to resign may not give any notice all summer long.
Okay, so we can all agree to bring this to the general board?
No, that's why I'm speaking against that, because you just don't pull this out without getting, signatures. There's a
Okay.
process that you need to make an amendment to the bylaws, all right? And you just don't bring it to a meeting and say, this is the amendment. Andrew, wouldn't you agree with that? We've done this before. I think it's even in the bylaws, what the
Yeah,
process is.
we have to check with Tom. It's a good question. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I'm almost sure that we had to get signatures and you bring it to the board and then it's a 2/3 vote, depending upon what the number of signatures actually are. And then from there you can vote. But being that we are the bylaws committee and we're working on the entire body, why don't we just go with it and leave it? I like the correction, but I don't feel pulling it out is going to make much of a difference with the situation we may be facing. So let's follow what we have to do. That's legal.
Okay, so if we get the signatures from here to the 21st, will it?
Well, let's find out what's in the bylaws about making an amendment. I'm sure it's on the last page or someplace.
Okay, hold
It's
on.
bylaws. And I believe it's very specific.
Okay.
And go that route or whatever. Now, it may not help us this time, but if it's approved in the body, it certainly should in the future. Because we have the summer to deal with and, people don't have to come right out and say they're leaving or stepping down or whatever.
What do I have here? Let's see, this is-
Everybody sees it?
Okay, as member of the board, any member may propose an amendment to these bylaws, provided such proposal is in writing and signed by 1/3 of the board membership, right? Proposed
There you go.
amendment shall be submitted in writing to the chairperson who will present it at the next meeting of the board, but no vote shall be taken at that meeting. The proposed amendment shall then be placed on the agenda of the following meeting of the board and shall become an amendment to those bylaws upon its approval by a quorum of appointed members of the board present and voting. Prior versions of the bylaws shall be kept on file. Yeah, well, that's what it is then. Because
Okay.
we're under these amendments right now.
Okay. Well,
So
there you
it
go.
So
seems
it's,
fair. I mean, I like the rewording. I think, it'll work. But I don't think it's gonna help us this much if we get a resignation, late in June or something. So we shall see. So even if you get signatures, it's not gonna be for the June meeting. It'll be for the September meeting.
mhm.
And Myrna, I guess we're not gonna be presenting the full body of the bylaws amended come September or October. We still have a lot of work, I would assume.
We have most of it done. I mean, this kind of put us back, but most of it's
Yeah.
done.
Okay, I don't think we hit the committees, or did we? I'm
No,
trying to.
we haven't, what the glitch on the committees was that there were certain committees that want to remain independent. That was, but we kind of decided that we would put the parks and the quality of life together.
No, wait a minute. What were we talking about?
Yeah, because it's, we're
I
having.
think we went back, we were back and forth into.
Yeah, I don't think we decided on anything.
We contemplated at one point making a municipal services committee.
Right.
That was an issue because we have some committees that overlap with each other in a lot of issues.
Right,
So that was one of the things that we were pondering about.
right,
Yes, you're right.
right.
But I don't think we decided on anything as far
Right,
as.
because
how many committees.
We all said that that had to be brought to the executive
Okay.
committee. But that's, I mean, we were in the middle, I think we got up to, we didn't touch traffic and transportation.
Mhm.
We didn't talk about, we were stuck on the parks and recreation cultural, that's where we left it
The
off.
culture part, or I don't remember. what it
Right.
was.
The culture part, I'll
Yeah,
have to review the minutes, that's where we
right.
were.
I think that was what we were
We
into.
weren't sure if that should remain there, should that go to the education committee, that was a question there.
So I'm just gonna put culture as the question here.
Okay, so we'll remember where to pick up next
Yeah, So
time.
we know that this is where we were questioning what we wanted to do.
And
Okay,
so I think you had the whole summer to think about which committee should be
Right.
combined.
So
So-
can I just wanted some clarification. Are we presenting anything to are we done? No, we're not done yet, right?
No,
no,
Okay, are we gonna try and get all this done tonight, and then what is the next step? Take it to the executive committee?
no,
No?
I don't think so.
No, there's too
No,
much.
Too
tonight.
much. Myrna said we would.
We'll be here till 12 o'clock at night if we.
Exactly.
So I think we've got this thing hashed out. I think we need to decide, there actually is enough time to get signatures if somebody really wanted to do it.
Yeah, but it still wouldn't go to vote at the June meeting, according to the amendment process.
Right,
Right,
right. It would go,
right.
it would go for vote for the September meeting.
Yeah, because you don't anticipate this being done for the September meeting with the whole body of the bylaws, right?
No.
No, okay.
So, is there, do we want to end there? So,
That would be nice.
okay.
So
So,
we know-
So you're the chair.
We'll know at the end of June, what, in August, what our world's gonna look like next.
Yeah, right. I guess we have to be patient.
exactly. So, I see AJ has his hand up. You have something? you would like to-
Yes, from the amendments, I think it's Article 9 or 10. It says any member of the board. Is that not like a more formal request that anybody can do, not specifically the bylaws committee, where your purpose and intention is to go over the bylaws and change them?
AJ, there'll be an opportunity for all the board members to chime in on changes once we're presenting, this is a proposal. So this is not a done deal.
Yeah.
So when
No,
we clean it up, it'll go to the full board.
Yeah,
at
but
that point-
I think his question was, can any member of the board propose an amendment? The answer is yes. That's
Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yes, that's,
Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, it
exactly,
says
yeah.
here, any member of the board may
Yeah.
propose. This is
Right.
more
That's
general,
correct.
where
Any
Ms.
member of the board.
Yahira's suggestion would be from the committee, so it wouldn't have to go to get the votes. That's just more for a general broad member can request a change, where since we're in the bylaws committee now, she can request that change
No,
without those
no,
signatures.
it's not the way you make an amendment.
Yeah, but
There's
they
nothing
still, yeah, the way the bylaws are worded, I think they still have to get the signatures.
Right.
Just a
You-
board member.
You're proposing an amendment and then you
Right.
go through the process of getting it approved by the full board, however we decide to do that. So yeah, any member can propose. an
Yes.
amendment,
Any
absolutely.
member of the board doesn't like something, they can get the signatures, they can make the
Correct.
motion. And at the next, according to the bylaws, at the next meeting, we will vote, So, yeah, you're right.
And I have a little list, if I could just read it off really quick before the meeting ends, of just some amendments from, or suggestions from the public.
Can
Go
you?
ahead. We'll let you go ahead.
As I was
Pretty quick,
specifically
we wanna
told,
go.
yes, ma'am. As
Okay.
I was specifically told by the chair, DM, and other members of the board that the public cannot suggest edits to the minutes without being shown any proof of this claim within the bylaws or city charter, can this be added as an amendment? Otherwise, the public is and should be allowed to suggest edits. From Article 3, Section 6, compliance enforcement of this is needed as the only request will be granted per 2-year appointment cycle rule might have been recently violated. Article 4, Section 9, compliance enforcement of this is needed as the minutes are not always an accurate record of all reports presented to the board, including majority and minority reports. Article 5, Section 1, replaced with 1-year elections similar to the annual fiscal year budget requests in other boards. This should be done yearly as stagnant leadership does no one good. Article 5, Section 10, compliance enforcement of this as all minutes, reports, communications, and correspondence, including but not limited to digital communications, such as emails, texts, and complaints, should be recorded, maintained, and accessible by the secretary. Article 7, Section 2, compliance enforcement of this, as this has never happened at any of the prior public hearings I've attended here at the past year plus with the board. And then Article 8, Section 1, compliance enforcement of this, as I'm waiting months now for the submitted and completed applications of board members from 2010 to present. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, thank you, AJ, for your input. So who would like to make a motion to close it?
Motion to adjourn.
Wait, before we adjourn, AJ, can you send me everything you just said? Do you have it in writing?
I think it's in the chat.
You
A
put
lot
it
of
in
it
the
is
chat?
in the chat, yes.
Some of it,
I
anyway.
sent it to Miss Carla, and I believe I sent a copy to Mr. Hugo as well.
Yeah, and a lot of it is in the chat too.
I also
Yeah,
have a
send it to
question.
Yahira if you have
Yeah,
it,
if you-
have it written,
Okay,
please.
the reason
Can you share
for-
your email, please, ma'am?
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking, since I'm the secretary of the board, I want to look at what certain sections that apply to me so that I know what you're looking at, and be able to respond to you properly. If not at another meeting, maybe via email with stuff like that, okay?
Yes,
Okay.
please. I didn't have your contact information. I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
Yahira, when you get it, could you please share it with me also?
Yeah,
Thank
Will
you.
do.
yeah, so this way, we want to be open and transparent here.
Right.
So however we can help the public get more informed and get better information, we're all for that. Okay?
Good.
We don't want the public ever to think that we're trying to hide anything. we're letting every people sit on the bylaws committee. So this is, even though it's a committee of the board, but we want we do need input because there are other people that have more, ideas that we didn't think of. So great. So a second on the motion of,
Wait, Hugo had his hand up.
Yeah.
oh, you go, I'm sorry.
Yes, I have one or two questions. This is the second time that I attended the ad hoc bylaws committee. And I know it's been going on for some time now. The current bylaws have grammatical errors and simple spelling mistakes and things like that in it.
Yeah.
Since before I started as a board member, I remember seeing like a JPEG version of the earlier bylaws and it had the same mistakes in it. And I thought that was something that was corrected in the past, but it hasn't. It seems like the bylaw committee has decided to go through every single section of the bylaws and just update everything, but it did not immediately make those what I consider minor corrections. Is my understanding correct?
So Hugo, can I answer that?
Yes, please.
We are making those grammatical changes because I did see them also. So as we find them in the sections, we are correcting them. So if you find any flagrant, things that we missed, please bring it to our attention because that is exactly what we are doing. Thank you for bringing that to our attention because we are.
Right, and then the reason for my question is that it seems like what you guys are doing is a lot more in-depth, and I really wish that we had gotten the grammatical errors out of the way first, because it looks a little bad.
Well,
Yeah, but I think, go ahead, Yahira, sorry.
My
Well,
opinion.
Hugo, to clarify, this is what we're doing. This is why we have fresh new eyes. We have a whole new, this is, at least to me, there's a whole new set of members on the bylaws that we're working through it. The suggestion is, yeah, we're gonna see grammatical errors. Let's get through the meat and potatoes of it. And we'll, if anything, I'll come back myself and share with everybody to go through grammatical errors. And if anybody picks up something that I didn't see, or that Betty didn't see, or that Myrna didn't see, but is more than welcome to say, hey, this one's missed or whatever, and we can fix it. No big deal.
Okay,
We'll take care of it.
Yep,
And Hugo, it is a pet peeve of mine. When I see a grammatical error, it drives me crazy. And I know it drives Andrew crazy too. And so we're like I said, you could have 10 people see something and we still miss that one misspelled word. So yes, please bring it to our attention.
True.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so can I have another motion?
We have a hand up with
Oh,
Andrew.
Andrew, that's you. Go ahead.
Yeah, just regarding minutes, I mean, once minutes are voted on, they're an official record of what took place. So minutes are not edited, they can be corrected and then voted on, but once they're voted on, that's it. They cannot be edited. So like when we second a motion to accept the minutes, people can then discuss changes, but I wouldn't use the word, these are corrections. And once it's voted on, there's nothing to edit. You cannot edit it. It was voted on, that's what was voted on, and that's a record, and that's it.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, so pay attention to those minutes. If there's a mistake, please, before it's officially voted on, make sure those corrections are made. So can I now have a motion to end the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Okay, all right. Good night, and I will see you at the next meeting.
Good night,
See you
everybody.
soon. That'll be next week, I think.
Exactly, next week.
Okay.
It'll be next week.
Yes.
All right.
Good night.
Good night, all, and thank you for your help, Yahira, and
You're welcome,
Betty,
anytime. Good night,
and
everybody.
Barbara, and all of you. Thank you, AJ, for your input also.
No problem.
Thank you. All right.
Watch House Committee meeting, watch it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, bye-bye.